You're listening to the Convene Connections podcast with your host, Matthew Curry.
Hey. Welcome to the Convene Connections podcast. I am not Matthew Curran. I am Jason Berry. Matthew is out living it up with his family, and in particular his son, Braden, whose birthday it is today. Where Wendy and I are sitting in, I'm sitting in for Matt tonight, and I've got the pleasure to work with Wendy in tonight's podcast. So welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and what time it is in the world that you're joining us. So what we're here to talk about today is Mrs. Wendy Zanders and her Declutter community and your Declutter coach business. Yes. And before we dig into that, I understand that a lot of folks that join or see us go live and see the feed go live may not know what Convene Communities is. So Matthew is a lot more articulate at describing that than I am. However, I can give it a shot. So Convene Communities has been in the works for 9-10 years at this point, and we're lifting this organization off. It's a web-based platform, and it's actually got a broad spectrum of different features to it. And the premise of the platform is to promote and give the general public opportunity to share their experiences and stories online across the expanse of the web. Right. And recognizing that everyone's story is highly valuable, and if we've got an opportunity to share that with one another, it will benefit others in the community. So that's the premise of the platform, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. So I encourage you to hop on. It looks like we got some links in there. I'm just paying attention to the feed here. So we've got some links in the chat. So check out Convene Communities, and Wendy's community has already been posted in the links here too. So hop over there while we're even talking, and you can kind of poke around and see what Wendy's built in Convene Communities. So that all being said, Wendy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? And I know that we've had you on the show before, but there are a lot of people that still need to get to know you. So let's start maybe from the beginning and tell a little bit about the background and what brings you here today. Okay?
Yes, let's go all the way back to the wonderful country of Trinidad and Tobago.
That's right.
This one is actually my birthday, so it is so many little nuggets that you will learn about me as we go along in this hour. But I'm from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and moving here to America at the age of 14, I had undiagnosed ADHD back in the 80s. I'm a 1982 baby, and a lot of times people just don't know what that is back there. So moving to America at the age of 14 to Maryland, the families that brought us here, they said, tell your daughter, get a good education, work hard, and you be successful. I am all about formulas. You tell me the formula to do something, I'm going to do it because I'm going to zone in and focus in. So study hard, work hard, you be successful. So I was on a mission to just work hard. I was getting A's, but with my undiagnosed ADHD, I was more memorizing to make honor roll because I had to be successful. So I had to figure out my way to get that A. I was all about getting that A or that B, making honor roll. And, at night times, what I would do is study really hard. My sister would always say, you never spend any time with me. You're always studying, because I had to work twice as hard in order to keep up with my grades because I had undiagnosed ADHD. It always keeps coming back to me. Like, if I would have known what I had and I had the proper accommodations, I probably would have, done a lot better, not be so stressed. But I remember I was doing the Pomodoro method with my sister before I even knew what that was. So what I was doing, I was studying for 30 minutes, taking a break and playing like 2 games of cards with her. And that's how we went, night after night. And then on Friday nights, in kind of a way to kind of wash away the school week, relax for the weekend, on Friday nights, I was cleaning my room, dusting my furniture, doing laundry as a way to kind of cleanse and de-stress. So it's so crazy how I was doing these things back between I was 14 and 17 years old, just in that span right there. I'm also a United States Army veteran, so I joined the military at 17 years old. This is when the recruiters were coming to the cafeteria in the high schools and saying, what are your plans for, after college or after high school?
I don't know. What do you think I should do?
Right. And my parents just couldn't afford to send me to college. I didn't want to take on any student debt. So they pushed that money in my face and I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
And, my mom, she didn't want to sign the papers, but I said, you either sign it now or when I turn 18, I'll join at that point. And as she said, is this really what you want to do? And I'm like, yes, this is what I really want to do. And she signed. So I was so grateful for her for trusting me at 17 to say, I hope she doesn't make a huge mistake or I'm signing her away to the military and she regrets it. But I was so grateful that she was able to say, wow, all right, at 17, you're making such a big grown-up decision. And she signed the papers. And the military have been one of the best milestones in my life because yes, it was great for the money. I joined for the money, but what was better was that independence and that accountability and that respect and the discipline that I learned and gained while in the military. That was just priceless. I met my husband first day of basic training, snatched him right up as soon as we got there.
You said the first day of basic?
The first day.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Okay.
First day. And we didn't know
You're
each
my
other.
guy. Yeah.
Yes. We sat in the cafeteria. I had me and my girls over here and he was on this side over here, but we were sitting right next to each other. And right, hey. So I was talking to my friend across the table, kind of like the cafeteria tables, and I was talking to my friend, but I was really talking to him sitting next to me. So to kind of throw the drill sergeants off our trail a little bit. And the back of our smart book, I ripped out the back page and I wrote my dad's address on it back in Maryland. We were in South Carolina. So he had to write me in Maryland for it to come all the way back to South Carolina for me to get it. But it was just so amazing that, that was just our start. And we just celebrated 20 years of marriage. And
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Being dual military and just doing those milestones, at 18 years old, going from a child to an adult and having to figure out adulthood, being newly married. It was tough, but as long as you be flexible and being able to grow and pivot, you can make successful. And I think it's the same with business. When COVID hit, if you're not flexible, if you're saying, well, this is how it's always been done, you're not going to survive. You have to pivot and grow and be able to try new things. And it's tough, but sometimes it's just totally worth it.
That's exactly right. And, I didn't introduce myself, but I'm a business coach with Action Coach Business Coaching, and I'm here in North Carolina, actually down the street from Matthew Curran, who founded Convene, and I'm honored to be Convene's business coach. So I've been working with Matt and the leadership team for almost a year now. At this point, we're going on a year pretty soon. But the reason I mentioned that is, you talk about being creative and being flexible.
Yeah.
And I'm reading a book. It's actually an awesome book called The Road Less Stupid. And
never heard of that.
it's excellent. And it's about business, but you could read it and intuit a lot of other value out of it too, outside of business. But he's talking about what you're talking about right now. What I was listening to today, actually, it's exactly what you're saying. He's talking about when things shift, if you don't adapt the old way of doing things, very likely you're not going to address your new needs or your new, the new way of approaching the situation that's required. And the business owners, or this is true for just every aspect of life too, really. But when things come up and shift, you're either gonna fight that,
Right.
or you're gonna flow and tap into some creativity and some energy, and get around that or through it or over it, under it.
Right.
And that's just such an amazing lesson. So anyway, I recommend you guys read that book. I'll find the author in a minute. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyway, speaking of authors, Wendy, you have written an awesome book. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that. And when did you write the book? When did you pen that?
Yes. So this book right here is the first official copy. Right here it says "Not for resale." It's
look at that.
Yeah, not for resale. This is the copy that
That's
I use and I mark up all the time because it reminded me, like, wow, I really did this. It was something that was a journal. In 2000 and just to kind of move a little further, my family and I, we were in Maryland, and we have two amazing kids now. My daughter is 7 and my son is 14, and we just moved to Arizona June 2019. But right before that, in 2018, I was working. In 2010, I was working for the federal government. I was working at the Food and Drug Administration in Maryland. 2010 to 2018. And that summer, remember 2017, that Christmas, I always took the week between Christmas and New Year's off. It was my way to cleanse my inbox at work. It was my way to unpack my kids' backpacks and reset my home. So I took vacation, but it really wasn't vacation. It was a way for me to cleanse my home. So I said I was taking vacation, but I didn't really go anywhere. It was just a way for me to cleanse my home. And 2017, 2018 just kind of rolled in like a wrecking ball. The year ended and 2018 just took off like a train with no brakes. And I felt the pull, I felt the overwhelm, and I was trying to drop balls, and all these things was happening at work and at home.
So and what was making it accelerate?
All the different responsibilities. There were people that was being fired at the job, and because I was getting the work done, it was giving me more work.
Oh, you were wearing more hats, and
okay,
I got it. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I have to keep doing better and better and better. So I was working nights. I would bring my computer home at night and kiss my kids and my husband goodnight, and I was still down in the basement in the office working, getting up the next morning. But the thing was, I was wearing busy as a badge of honor.
That's right.
Look at me with my computer bag and my purse and my lunch bag, and I'm so important. And
I hope people are listening to that. Because I go to, go to networking events and this kind of thing. And you ask people, how are things going? Oh, great. So busy. Blah, yada, yada. And like what I'm thinking is like, oh, that sucks, man. Like you got to fix that. That's like what I'm thinking, and I got to be careful about how I approach it. But that is not a badge of honor, right? Yeah. That's exactly right.
In corporate, the busier you are, the more important you feel.
That's
and
right.
in business, the more busy I am, this is not the life that I wanted for myself. Because then I might as well go back and get a job.
That's right.
Go back to the federal government if I'm always busy and I never have time for my family, So 2018, like I said, came in like a wrecking ball, and balls started to fall. And I said, Lord Jesus, what is going to happen? They kept saying, help is coming, help is coming. And it never did. And finally, the balls just started to fall. And I got really sick, like around August of 2018. My hands and feet got really swollen. They were painful to walk. I have a cold weather injury. So the AC was blowing, sensitivities in my hands and feet. I had to go to the VA hospital. I remember one Friday afternoon, I was working from home that day, and I just lost it. I remember my son coming home from school. He always comes to look for me to say, hey, I'm home. I'm going to go outside and play. And I was just in the basement in the office, just sobbing uncontrollably. And I was like, Lord, what is this? So I finally called the VA hospital, I guess where I get my care. And, a lot of times I finally called, it's the suicide prevention line. But the thing is, it's not just for people who are thinking about suicide. So when you call them, it would say, press 1 if you're thinking about suicide or whatever it is. And I hung up because I'm like, that's not what I need.
Hmm.
But something told me to call back. I called back and I said, I pressed 1. I said, I am not suicidal. I just need to talk, because I was just so overwhelmed.
Right.
And the counselor was talking to me and she was like, oh, it's okay. It's for everybody. I said, well, you need to change that, because people are probably hanging up saying, well, I'm not suicidal. If the call is for everybody, they need to change that prompt. If they really do, because people are probably hanging up before they can really get to a counselor.
No doubt.
Yeah. And my son, he came in and he was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I kind of like slammed the door in his face. But my husband was coming home at that same point, and he went upstairs and he's like, Mom is crying, can you go check on her, make sure everything is okay? And the counselor told my husband, you need to get her to the emergency room right now.
Right.
It turned out I was having a full-blown panic attack, probably nervous breakdown, who knows? I was in the emergency room for about 3-4 hours, and the counselor came in talking with me, and I kept dozing off, like in the middle of her talking to me. And I'll wake up and she was like, it's okay. I was like, I am so sorry. She's like, it is perfectly fine. Because I was so exhausted. I think I was trying to hold it together for so long.
Yeah, right.
And when the tears came out, if the floodgates was open and you couldn't shut it until...
Well, your body's trying to preserve itself, take care of itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And then through that, she put me on bed rest for a couple of days. And, here I am saying, I can't go on bed rest. I have a lot of work to do, So yeah. I'm there and she's like, you better not work this week. And it was hard. It was hard for me to send in that letter and say, I am off this week, knowing my inbox is overflowing, and it went from 1 week into 90 days of bed rest. Wow. And during that, my legs were still pretty swollen. I was wearing compression socks. I had all of these appointments because they were trying to figure out what was going on with me. So probably once or twice a week, I was driving up to the VA hospital to do all these other blood work, like ultrasounds and blood tests and urine tests and all these things. Here I am as a 36-year-old woman sitting in waiting rooms with World War II veterans, getting the veins in my legs checked to figure out what's happening to me. Wow. And then everything was coming back negative. And I said, you guys are missing something. Is it lupus? Is it rheumatoid arthritis? Like, what is it? And finally, the doctor said, Wendy, it's just stress. And I just lost it, because I knew that I had the power to change what was happening in my body. Because I was hoping something was wrong so I can get an answer, so I can fix me up and send me back out to work, Yeah. And while I was on bed rest with my feet up on the couch, not being able to work, I started to journal. And I started writing down what was happening. And eventually, that's how this book came to be. I reached out to someone and it's like, wow, you have a story here. And I said, you know what, let's do it. And writing this book gave me the courage to walk away from the federal government. I was commuting an hour and a half each way to and from work. Yeah, if I wasn't on the commuter bus, I was driving. If it rained a little bit, if it drizzled, it was a 2-hour commute. It was rough. And I remember being just so miserable, dropping my kids off at school and then saying, all right, here we go to work. You take that hour and a half trek to work. And I remember looking over at a McDonald's and said, gosh, if I can just be happy working at McDonald's, I would quit my job in an instant. Sure. And that's when I realized the money, amazing money, working for the federal government just wasn't going to make me happy. I was chasing the corporate ladder. I was chasing GS15. I had it in my sight, work hard, play hard, and work hard, study hard, and you'll be successful. So that was my formula, even towards working for the federal government, because that was success, working for the federal government.
That's good. That's good. And gosh, Wendy, I've known you for several months, but I haven't heard that story yet, though. And I know that's meaningful for everyone else that's listening here. And what you just said about chasing success, whatever that means, chasing success, that's the problem that so many people have, is they're chasing that success rather than chasing what will fill them with joy, chasing their purpose in life or their why, a couple different ways to look at it. But if you're chasing that, and I know you're going to speak to this in a minute, but if you're chasing that, the financial success will follow it.
Yeah.
you've got to choose the right path and make great decisions along the way, but the success is a byproduct of you following your joy and purpose. Yeah. And I just wanted to take a second here. I see that Chris, I've not met Chris before. I'm just looking in the chat here. So Chris, if you're still on, Chris mentions we just went through this. We took our first break since 2015, 2 weeks ago. So, Chris, I'm not sure if you're talking about taking a break from work or if you're talking about having gone through, the stress part. So if you can give us a little bit of clarity to that in one of the comments here, we'll try to speak to that while we're on the call here tonight, Chris. Yeah. And Eugene just mentioned that is one heck of a story, and you've been through it, So let's that brings us to 2019, 2020, very smoothly, right?
And there's a lot of going back to bring it forward. Right. I cannot believe that I am still standing. Sometimes it's hard to say, wow, you did that. But I didn't do it alone. There were definitely people who were in my corner, rallying for me, saying you can do this. And that's what I do for other people as well. And I know we're going to talk more about that, but don't do this alone. Whether it's life or business or career, don't do it alone. Get your rally crowd, I would say.
Well, it's your environment makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
Your environment makes or breaks you. And I realized that more recently than I wish I would have, but your environment is so impactful. And there's a book that I read, Malcolm Gladwell wrote, The Outliers. In that book, he talks about there's no such thing as an overnight success. So, you've got some really cool things happening right now. Yeah. And someone that doesn't know better might say, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have had this great idea for what she's doing. And there's no such thing as an overnight success.
No such thing.
There's a story, there's a path, there's a background to it. And, and Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about, Apple and some of these big businesses, Microsoft, he talks about, and what it took for those organizations to come about and all the circumstances and the environment that it took to even begin to cultivate something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a really well-researched book, but it has a lot of parallels to what you're talking about. It's, two different subjects and directions, but the meaning is the same. So let me see. I thought I might have seen Chris.
Did you respond?
Respond. Yeah. So Chris said both. We operate a nonprofit ministry/outfitters service. Chris, I'm interested in that because my background, I spent 18 years. I owned an outdoor retail business in the mountains of North Carolina. So I'll look to connect with you after this and hear more about that outfitter service. So they operate a nonprofit ministry/outfitter service focused solely on battling the suicide epidemic that is running rampant through our veterans and active duty military communities. Yeah. What an important service. And I lived in Boone, North Carolina for a long time, Chris, and am really familiar with Samaritan's Purse and, know the Grahams, and they live there. And they've got a program you're probably familiar with, and they take actually veterans up to Alaska. They've got a ranch up in Alaska for marriage counseling, like a marriage retreat.
Ooh.
Week or
I want
two.
to know about that.
But it's like it's to mend that relationship after someone's been on tour, or, I'm sure there's a lot of different circumstances, but man, there's such a massive need. And Chris, thank you so much Chris, why don't you put a link to your organization in the chat here too, because I'm interested in it, and I'm sure others are as well.
Absolutely. So, and we have a huge military community as well. So that would be
and Convene. So unjack that for us, Wendy. So, when did you first engage Convene? Tell me about how that happened.
Gosh, this was last year when when COVID hit. The amazing Lisa Herring. And
Lisa's a mover and a shaker.
She is. And we met before that on Facebook, and we connected over my disabilities, and I was talking with her about that. And she was the one that reached out to me, and she said, "You got to look at this, this platform. I've been looking for a place to put my membership. I've tried Kajabi. I think I did 1 month. When she told me about it, I was in my 1 month trial of Kajabi, and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, I am not techie at all. I'm like, okay, tell me more. And we jumped on a call with Matthew Curran. Here you are, the owner of a platform is doing a demo, is doing a chat and speaking his heart about why he loves Convene and why it all started. And that was so amazing to be a part of, because I was like, I'm sold. I was terrified because I'm like, I don't know anything about tech. I would not, but I was so afraid of having tech keep me from doing my business. So I was like, I either going to hire it out or I'm going to do it myself. And I was able to hire it out to one of the coaches within Convene and get it up and running. So that has been a true blessing. But Lisa Herring, she spearheaded it. She told me something about it, and then Matt took it the other way, and then having the amazing coaches behind me as well to help me with that as well.
Yeah, Convene's done an excellent job of supporting its membership and build. That's I tell you, there's a lot of amazing things about Convene communities, and one of them is how supportive the entire focus has been on helping the layperson like me to come on to a platform like this and be able to navigate it to success. And I admire the approach. And it's not just, hey, here's a tutorial, best of luck, and we'll bill you next month on the 5th. It's not,
it's not every month we'll bill you.
Yeah. It's not that. It's just really handled with care, and it's very thoughtful for the end user. It's a great experience for the end user, so that there's a great experience for every consumer of the stories and communities that visit the site too.
Absolutely.
It's pretty well done. Thank you, Chris. I see that you put your information in there.
Yay. Thank you, Chris.
I'm going to look you up and reach out to you. That's cool. What was I thinking about? Tell us while we're talking about Lisa recently, why don't you share just a little bit about who Lisa is and her community real quick?
Yes. So Lisa is the amazing person who heads up the Social Security Disability community in Convene. And if you are a military veteran, or if you are part of, what is it? The responders community.
First responders,
first responders. She helps them with navigate the disabilities with the Social Security. She used to be part of the Social Security. She used to work there, and now she has the insider secrets. I love when she says that.
Oh, yeah.
She really does. She really
got the goods. Yeah, that's right.
And she was able to just help us navigate that. It's been amazing.
That's great. Yeah, I tell you, Lisa is a true resource for those folks trying to navigate that. Yeah. And what an intimidating thing to try to navigate. She's kind of told me just a little bit about what the process looks like from the outside looking in. And
scary.
Like, yikes. I would be intimidated. I would be intimidated and probably not stick with it to success, because it's just too much work to try to figure out.
And especially if you have a disability and you're trying to navigate it alone, don't navigate it alone. Reach out to Lisa. She really can help you in her group program, one-on-one with consultation, and she can really help you with that.
Yeah, and every great thing in the world, as far as I can tell, starts with a conversation. So if you're a first responder, a military veteran, reach out and have questions about that, reach out to Lisa and just have a chat with her. She's such an amazing resource and so awesome at what she does. And yeah, you talk about chasing your purpose,
That's
and
purpose right there.
finding success is a byproduct of chasing your purpose. You know, that's Lisa's living that out right now. So
Yeah.
that's great. So tell us about bridging the gap from you've got your business, declutter business, and you're doing this live and in person, the Wendy show. And then this little bug from Asia starts running around the world, and we get to deal with that. So how have you navigated? You know, we talk about being creative and pivoting and all these words that we hear very often in the
Yes.
last year, but it's true. Creativity,
Yeah.
how do you pivot and work around, work through, work over, work, under what's happening so that you can still get to your purpose, get to success. So tell us how you've navigated that in a web-based world for your declutter business.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I have been pivoting my entire life, and good pivots, because sometimes it's needed, right? So just to kind of go back a little bit to go forward, in 2017, I remember my husband and I were doing Financial Peace University at that point, and we got to baby step number 3, and we were like, woohoo, we're debt free with consumer debt.
Yep.
And the only debt we had left to pay was our mortgage. And we wanted to keep that momentum going. And so what I decided to do was to get a part-time job, because I was already running crazy with the federal government. Like, I have more time, right? I was like, well, I don't have more time. So let's start a business. And I remember I said I was going to get a part-time job, and to keep whatever money I was going to make, I was going to dump it on the mortgage to, pay off our mortgage. And I remember, I wish I would remember who would have told me this, but the person said, find something that you love and do it as a business. The funny thing is, when I signed up for the military, you take this battery test. It's called the ASVAB. So pretty much it's a couple of different questions to see if you're good at medical, if you're good as a mechanic, maybe a doctor, I don't know, a chef, logistics, all these different tests that they will give you questions to, and then you decide what ranks high. You kind of pick a job for the military based off of that. And for my job, it was 92 Yankee. So it was unit supply specialist. And what that is, if you take a supply store like an Office Depot or an Office Max, maybe you can even lump in a Lowe's in there. And that combination is what we ran for our unit. So our unit, if they needed supplies, if they needed tools, they would come to us. And we needed to make sure that we were mission ready at all times. If the commander says, hey, we're rolling out in 1 week, we better have all the tools and weapons and ammunition that we need to be mission ready.
So huge amount of inventory control and all those kind of things. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you don't need 5,000 rubber bands and no pens. You don't need 5,000 rubber bands and no small tools, so things like that. And I was also managing the arms room by myself, which in turn I hurt my back. But with trying to manage the Madus, the M16s and all these different weapons by myself, because there was no help, it was just Wendy, I can take chaos and turn it into calm. So if the supply room is a mess, I'm able to reorganize, do my inventory, and say, hey, we don't need any more rubber bands this month, but we need more pens, we need more small arms, we need screwdrivers and things like that, to make sure that we're always mission ready. The same thing with the arms room. When I took it over, we were failing inspections. We couldn't find paperwork. We were able to get it up to par. And that's what I did, in the military. And now I'm able to do that in my life as well. So deciding, I am going to take what I used to do in the military and translate that over to my regular life, and say that I love organizing. So somebody said, do that. I didn't realize that organizing was a business. I was doing it for free for people. I would go into their, if I show up early for a party, I say, hey, how can I help? If their pantry needed decluttering, I would do a little decluttering, and I was doing it for free. And now I'm like, oh, I can get paid to do that now. So it was just amazing that I'm able to take what I was doing in the military and translate that into a career.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, the people who have been most successful in business in the world have found a need that's common across a population, and and put a cork in it. Put a cork in it. And I'm always, in coaching, there's a lot of business owners that like specific aspects of the business and hate other aspects, hats they're wearing as a business owner. And it's like, that's fine. But you need to understand that role. And then as soon as you create a bit of a system for it so that you can hold it accountable, get it into somebody else's hands is really good at that, and let them shine at what they're
outsource
built to do as a human. Everybody's different, and you focus on what you can shine with. And another way to think about it is, are you doing work that you should be paying somebody else to do? That's another way to think about it. And that's not a good use of your time as an owner. It's not a good use of your time as a parent you work with a lot of moms. I remember you saying that. So, speak about who's your best customer for your business historically.
Gosh, I have been, here we are pivoting again, right? I have worked with, I would work with everybody on the spectrum. When I started my business, I was working with this one guy. He had a construction company, and I realized he wanted me to organize his tools. And I said, I did a couple of sessions, and then we realized this is not working. And I was so grateful when I said, this is not what you need. And he was like, okay, I agree. And I'm like, yes. Because I didn't want to organize your tools. I didn't want to, I just didn't want to do that. And then the other client that I had, there's a scale for hoarding tendencies. And I realized that I did not have the expertise to work with someone that was a level 3 or 5 on the hoarding scale. And I was able to outsource that. We did a couple of sessions and realized this is not what I do as well. And then I get into my sweet spot with working with moms. I realized that moms are the ones that hire me within a family. Yes, I can give a husband my phone number and he can call me and say, hey, I want to, organize my house for my wife as a surprise. I would not recommend that, because it could be an insult to the wife. Because then you're saying, because inside the home, that's the wife's pride and joy. So if she has to be the one to say, I need you to help me declutter my home. A husband cannot hire me like some mistress to rush in and, secretly organize and then get out. That I realized. We
fixed your house, honey. Yeah.
That is not a good idea.
Yeah, no doubt.
I realized moms were the ones that hires me. When I open up my mouth and say what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, give me a card. I need you. A lot of times the wife would go to the husband and say, this is what I need. And they'd be like, okay, So the wives are the one that hires me. We are also a homeschooling family. So for me, it's the families that are homeschooling that are looking to say, I need help because I'm a special needs person. But also, I would love for you to work with my children because I feel this guilt because I am unorganized. My kids are unorganized. So the mom feels guilty about that and want me to work together with the kids and the mom together as a family to help them get organized, declutter and organize. And I specialize in decluttering. Organizing is the benefit, but really decluttering is what I do. I've done sessions where people have said, hey, I have 50 purses or all these pairs of shoes. Can you come and help me organize it? That's not what I do. I am coming in to help you declutter. Why do you have 50 pairs of shoes and half of them are covered in dust?
Yeah.
You really should declutter.
Organize it out the door.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I don't know who else. I don't know who else is thinking this when Wendy's talking, but Wendy just shared with us that there's evidently a scale of hoarding. Yeah. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, where am I at on the scale?
Well, 3 to 5, level 1 is just somebody, maybe they have battled depression and their house became a mess. and they just need to reset. Level 2 is also kind of in that range, but 3 through 5 is where you tend to see the show hoarders, where you walk into somebody's home and there's a wall of stuff. So there's just one little path through. That's where you start getting into that range where you really need somebody who is qualified and have the right PPE gear to get in there. Because sometimes they have animals that have passed away. Maybe there's bathrooms that haven't been used in months. Maybe things are molded and things are rotten in there, and you really need to get in there. But that's a different level that I don't do. A lot of times people will reach out to me and say, I need you to work with my wife because she's a hoarder. Well, I'll say, well, what do you mean? Like, tell me about the situation. And a lot of times it's not that she's a hoarder. Everybody says, oh, I'm a hoarder, or that person is a hoarder. But because there's those levels, you really have to ask more questions before you just write off somebody and says, I don't work with hoarders. But I also have a place where I can recommend them that can help them if that's truly what they need at that point.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never knew that much about it until now.
Yes. It's very, just this past Monday, I was on a call with somebody who worked only with hoarders, the level 3 to 5 scale. And whether it was a murder scene that they had to go in and clean up, it was a decon, or maybe the house has, if you ever get a notice from the cops that says you have 30 days to clean up this house, that's the sessions I do not do. Those are level 3 to 5 because the house is going to be condemned if they don't clean up. That's when the hoarding has spewed into the backyard or spewed into the front yard. And it's a lot more than a 3-hour session can help. They need a whole team and a whole dumpster truck to come in because they have to throw out the couches and the beds and get the floors probably pulled up because maybe there was, because sometimes you find people who, and I saw that session and I said, okay, I do not work with 3, 4s, and 5s. But that was my takeaway. But sometimes if hoarding happens in the home and somebody passed away and they didn't find the person for a month, that's a different kind of hoarding, a different kind of organizing and decluttering that needs to happen. So I take my job very seriously. I always say I'm compassionate and non-judgmental. If I know I am not qualified to do that job, I will not take on that job. But I won't make the person feel bad. But I will say I am not qualified to help you with this. But I can hold your hand and lead you to another company that can. So I think it's always good to say, even in business, if you're not going to work with that person, hold their hand and introduce them to somebody else who can. Mm-hmm. So networking is just so big and so needed in our world.
That's right. I just see a funny comment that Eugene put in here. So Eugene, for those who aren't familiar, Eugene put a link to your community in the chat, if you would. But actually, I invest in a course that Eugene has on Convene Communities, and Wendy is in the group with me too. And Eugene is teaching us how to trade stocks.
Yes.
Which is fascinating and interesting. And today there's a lot of red on the charts, but you know, everybody's seeing red, so that's just part of the flow of it. But yeah, Eugene, please put a link to your group in there. I'd like for people to be able to learn more about what you're teaching us as well. And speaking of groups and courses, Wendy, why don't you talk about your course in Convene, or your community? I'm sorry, your community.
Yes.
Convene.
Here I am saying again, pivot and roll with the punches. Last March, when my business was, on its way, I had 5 clients, in-person clients lined up for the month of April. Around mid-March, the first of the 5 clients called me and said, hey, I have some health issues. This is when COVID really wasn't a thing. We didn't know what was happening. Some people were like, I don't know, let's keep going. Some people were like, no, let's stop. And she finally called me and she said, you know what, I have health issues, so I need to reschedule my session. And I'm laughing at this now because we're coming up on a year. Actually, yesterday was the session I did with her a year ago. And we were booking another one for April. And I said, oh, no problem. I'll just reschedule you for April. I thought, it's a 30-day thing. It will be blown over by then. I have not been able to get back in touch with her or get back into her home. I miss her terribly, but yeah, that's how my business, kind of went down with COVID. But being able to pivot, March 29th is my birthday. And I said, what am I going to do? Because I realized as the days were going by in March, that things were getting a little bit more serious and I needed to cancel the rest of my clients. So the month of April, my income would have been zero because I was only doing in person. And my business did start back in Maryland, but I didn't know how to work with my Maryland folks. So I was only focusing on my local business. So one thing you figure it out real quick, I'm like, okay, how about a membership? And on March 29th, I launched my membership. I turned 38 and I said, okay, $38 a month. And within an hour and a half of sending that email to my list, I got my first member and I'm like, all right, this is working. Okay. And that's how my membership started to grow and people started coming in, and we do focus time with Wendy twice a month. Actually, this coming Sunday is going to be our first of 2 sessions. We do the first and third Sunday afternoon of the month. We do focus time with Wendy. And what that is just me saying, okay, Jason, this hour, what are you working on in your home? I would ask somebody else, what are you working on in your home? And everybody is saying what they want to be held accountable for. They can turn off their camera, they can turn off their mic and just work for 45 minutes. And then at the end, everybody gets back on camera and I say, okay, so how did it go? And you say, oh man, Wendy, I just got my whole desk cleaned off. Or now I have my action plan for this coming week. And it's been amazing. Some people have said, I've gotten more done with you in 45 minutes than I've done all week, because you're trying to do it alone, but you always get distracted. But when you're sitting and you're focusing, knowing that everybody else on the call is doing the exact same thing, you have the space to get it done. And the reason why I pick a Sunday afternoon is when my husband and I used to work for when I used to work for the federal government, he was working, wherever our kids were in public school, we were commuting an hour and 15 minutes in another direction. I cannot believe we used to do that. Wow. Whenever something happened in school, I would get called to come pick up the kids. And so on Sunday afternoons, this is exactly what I did with my boss. I was an executive assistant for him. So on a Friday afternoon, I would sit down with him and say, this is the next week. What do you need me to cancel? What do you need me to move? What do you need me to schedule? Those kind of things. And I loved it. I took it into our home. So on a Sunday afternoon, my husband and I used to sit down and say, this is what's coming this week. Can you take Keyshawn to his doctor's appointment? I'll leave work early on this day, and try to make it all work. So I always say Sunday afternoons is the best time to sit down and strategize for your week. You can do it on a Friday afternoon as well, but then you'll be thinking about it all weekend. So it's best to just end your week on a Friday and pick up on a Sunday afternoon when you can say, I enjoyed my weekend. Now let's get ready for the week and figure out what needs to get done for the week.
And you've got a designated time so you don't think about it through the weekend, right, so that you can be prepared for Monday. It's like, no, we've got a time on Sunday. We don't need to worry about it on Saturday.
Right.
We're going to sit down and do it. And I want to speak to something you mentioned a minute ago during your focus times with Wendy twice a month. Yeah. So just as a business coach, it's the same right. It's the same difference. So the magic in the relationship that I have with a business owner is the accountability. Yes. It's the accountability, and that's the magic. Yeah. And what I'm holding a business owner accountable to is his or her focus and attention on what matters. Yeah. And I'm doing that weekly with clients I work with, but what you're doing is exactly the same. You're holding them accountable to their focus and attention during that time, so that there is a designated time for them to refocus on it, deal with it. And how great do you feel when you've taken one more step in the right direction with whatever you're willing? And something else, and you've been around me, so you've heard me say this probably 20 times now, but if something is important to you in life, then you will be willing to build an accountability structure around that. Right. And if clutter in your lifestyle, in your home, is important to you to resolve, Wendy, I'd like to introduce you to Wendy Zanders.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity for you. And I mean, $38 a month is just, I mean, for that kind of peace of mind and support and guidance and accountability. This is a great opportunity for you to invest in yourself and in your family and build the accountability structure around what you know is going to be make a difference in your lifestyle and your family's your family dynamic. I mean, it can actually have an impact on the family dynamic pretty quickly. And I don't want to let our time get away without giving you a chance to talk about some upcoming events specifically. So you mentioned Focus Time with Wendy, but there's one or two other things you were mentioning to me earlier. Why don't you share with us about that too?
So Focus Time with Wendy, that's the first and third Sunday of the month. That's in Convene, and I'll drop my link in there as well after the call. But there's also courses in there, and I absolutely love this community because in the discussion board every week, I always drop on there and I say, what is that one thing you want to get done this week? So here you had an amazing 45-minute session, 1 hour session, and you got things off your plate. Now, until we meet again, what is that next thing that you want to accomplish? And then you can come back on and say, oh, I did that thing. Don't wait for the next time for us to jump on to be more productive again. So that's in there. If you join, you get the first 30 days free inside the membership. I'll give you the coupon code. Because I want you to get to trust me, and I get to trust you, and you see, wow, she can really bring value in there. The other thing that's happening this month is on the 13th, there is a stress series that I am part of. So whether you're decluttering your finances, or maybe you're like, you need more zen in your life, maybe your papers needs to be decluttered. Every Saturday or twice, there's a series, there's 6 series in there, and I'll put a link for that as well. That will take you through to really help you declutter those areas in your life. And I'll be doing declutter your papers. Papers is one thing. Tax time is next month. I'm pretty sure people haven't slowed down enough to say, are the bills coming in? Did I get my W-2? Did I get my 1099 forms? Did I send those out to my contractors? Whatever that is, tax time is next month. They may have an extension because of COVID, but let's get those things done. Let's find these papers. Maybe there's a check that you lost and you're trying to get that cashed. You're trying to find it. So let's bring those papers, and I'll put that link in there as well. So those are the 2 big things that's happening. And Focus Time with Wendy is the first and third Sunday afternoons of the month.
Excellent. So the first and third, so that'll be not this Sunday, but the next after that.
This Sunday is the first. Yeah.
This Sunday is the first Sunday. Okay.
Yes.
Because the first was Monday. I got you. So she mentioned it, but just in case you didn't catch it, Wendy is going to, after our chat here, add the links to those events into the comments. And she's also going to add a link to her community, the Declutter community and Convene communities, in the comments as well. So it'll be really easy for you to find that. It looks like Melinda may have already added one of those links. So anyway, we'll make sure that we get that in there. So Wendy, any last parting thoughts you want to leave with us? We've got just a couple of minutes here before the hour.
I want to ask a question as the declutter coach. My question is, what is that one thing, just one, I know you have your to-do list, but what is that one thing you need to get done by the end of the week? By Sunday, what is that one thing you need to get done? That is my question. And my one thing is to get my ring light that's sitting over here. I am in the open area of our home. We moved in and my office desk needs to be put together. That needs to be done by the weekend, because when we started this call, it was bright and now it is dark outside and my ring light is not on. So I need to get myself in my office set up. That is my thing for the end of the weekend. And my son and my husband, that's on their to-do list also to help me.
I am glad. Yeah. I do the same thing in coaching sessions. And I usually, it's like 2 or 3 things because they got teams to work with. But thank you for that, because when you asked me that question, what came to mind was my wife's been asking me about getting the exercise bike back into the basement after we renovated the basement.
Yeah.
And it's out in the garage, so she can't use it out there. And it's like, that would be the perfect thing to accomplish this weekend because
that's right.
Because it would be great for her. So thank you for prompting me to think about that in time to do something about it instead of Sunday night when I can't.
Oh, you're tired and you're like, oh, I don't want to. You know?
I'll do that next weekend. Yeah, and I've been saying that for a while. So thank you for the prompt and the challenge. And hey, that's actually good. Why don't you guys, and I'll throw mine in there in the comments too in a minute. Comment what your one thing is going to be so that we can kind of get some ideas rolling here too, because some people might be like, I've got 20 things. What would be the best?
What's that one thing that would move the needle forward? And I'm actually going to put it on my discussion board in my community. So if you get in there, I can post a link in there as well. So you can add your comment on the discussion board as well.
So I see a couple in here already. I just realized. So I see Lisa Hearing says my tax stuff, and Melinda. So we've got in Convene Communities. We just started last Monday a weekly mastermind call. Yes. And Matthew Curran and myself are the two that are facilitating that call week to week. And Wendy, I'm glad you're in the group too. And Melinda shares that she needs to take care of her mastermind homework. Haha. So she's got we got some homework to do.
Yes.
But yeah, we got a couple other comments in there too. But Wendy, it's been an absolute pleasure to dig in and learn more about your background and your story.
Thank you for having me.
Convene is all about stories and how that can help other people. And this is just such an awesome example of that. So it's great to talk to you tonight. Stezo, thanks for your help tonight, man. And Matt, I think I'm going to take this thing over and and stick with it for the next couple of months, man. So this has been a lot of fun. Yes. So, hey, Braden, happy birthday, man. And at the end of March, happy birthday to Wendy, too. So you guys have a great evening, and we'll sign off. Cheers.
Bye.